From early 1942 to 1945, Nazi soldiers on the Eastern Front listened for an ominous sound in the dead of night, one they described as the whooshing of a witch's broom. That noise signaled the approach of the all-female 588th Night Bomber Regiment, better known to the Nazis by another name, the Nachthexen, or Night Witches. These women aviators flew over 24,000 missions, destroying railways, fuel depots and warehouses, while keeping Nazi soldiers awake and nervous through the long nights on the Eastern Front. During the 1930s, Soviet women joined aviation clubs and learned military flying through paramilitary organizations like aviation, the Society for Cooperation in Defense and Aviation Chemical Development. Although women were not encouraged to join the military, the Soviet Union's emphasis on legal equality for women meant aviation could not turn women away who were determined enough to push through bureaucratic red tape and ignore social pressure. The growing aviation field was an exciting topic among the Soviet public, and aircrews who completed difficult flights or set distance records held great propaganda value for the government. Among these were flights by Soviet women, the most famous of which was the flight of the Rodina in September 1938. The all-female crew of Polina Osipenko, Valentina Grizodubova, and Marina Raskova set a new international women's record, flying 3,695 miles in a straight line during a non-stop distance flight. But the Rodina's 4,010 total mile journey ended in a forced landing as poor weather conditions led to limited visibility. Raskova, the navigator, was forced to bail out and spent 10 days in the wilderness with limited food and no water before the rescue crew arrived. The Rodina's crew were the first women to receive the country's highest award, the Hero of the Soviet Union, and Raskova earned the nickname the Soviet Amelia Earhart. After Nazi Germany's June 1941 invasion of the Soviet Union with Operation Barbarossa, many Soviet women pilots wanted to use their flying skills in the military. However, their gender disqualified them from joining the Soviet Air Force as pilots. Numerous women wrote to Raskova for help, and she petitioned Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin to create women's combat aviation regiments. Stalin and the government agreed, forming Soviet Union Aviation Group 122 under Raskova's leadership that October. Aviation Group 122 consisted of 3 regiments, the 586th Fighter Aviation Regiment, the 587th Bomber Aviation Regiment, and the 588th Night Bomber Regiment. Pilots with the most experience went to the 586th, those with the least were assigned to the 588th. Originally, all members of the regiments were women, including the ground and support crews. By the end of the war, however, the 588th was the only regiment to remain all-female, a major point of pride for its members, and it received the most honors and media attention of any of the women's combat groups. Their trip coincided with the 45th anniversary of the end of World War II, and the Wasps were special guests at the large victory parade in Moscow's Red Square. While at the celebration, the Night Witches and the Wasps wrote 2 letters, one to US President George H.W. Bush and one to Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev, to appeal for a peaceful future for their children and grandchildren. 16. The women pilots referred to themselves as Sisters in the Sky, working together for a common good. The meeting of 2 different groups of women pilots represented women's patriotic duty to their countries in World War II. Although their missions and wartime experiences were different, both the Wasps and Night Witches used their skills to protect their homelands and, nearly half a century after the war, still wanted to do their best to serve future generations. Although the 588th Night Bomber Regiment was only in operation for a short period of time, the group made a significant impact on the Soviet war effort. The over 24,000 missions flown by the Night Witches destroyed Nazi military supplies and transportation, as well as demoralized the enemy soldiers. The women entered dangerous combat roles in the war in order to protect their homes and defend their country. Their skills and courage in the skies of the Eastern Front made the Night Witches valuable contributors to Allied victory in World War II.